Hello, everybody. Welcome back to How Come. I'm going to start this episode soon because it is so great and you're going to love it. But I have to tell you how fun the live show was. Holy shit. If you came, thank you so much for coming. If you didn't come to the next one. We had the best time. Literally the best time. The funniest live podcast. I did not know it could be so hilarious. And the only glitch was that the intro song was way too quiet as I was coming up on stage. But then all the companions sang and picked up the slack, and it was the best time. Some companions came up on stage to tell some stories, and then I rewarded them for their bravery by giving them a pack of Laurel's underwear or a toy from Sweet Vibrations. That's probably going to happen every live podcast, so come. It's so much fun. We talked about herpes this episode, and so many people after the show were like, oh my God, if I knew it was about herpes, I would not have come, but I'm so happy that I did because I learned so much. We love learning and we love having fun, so come to the next one. The next one's going to be September 25th at the Stand. I don't know what the topic is yet, but it'll be great. So go to howcomepodcast.com or remycasimir.com to get your tickets. If you want to come to a straight up comedy show, I'm starting my brunch show again at the Stand. It's called Bacon Bits because we give away free bacon and we tell you jokes, and it's during brunch. 3:30 every Sunday. The first one is going to be August 25th at the Stand. So you can go to remycasimir.com for tickets. And yeah, the next live show, September 25th at the Stand. So come to that. And we're going to be going on the road. It's not just going to be live shows in New York. We love everyone who's been rating, reviewing, and subscribing on iTunes. You guys have been leaving which towns, which cities, which states you want us to come to. Keep doing that because it just gives us a place to plan it out, and we will be going on the road when we're off season. So yeah, keep leaving where you want us to tour in the reviews because we're going to do one when we wrap up this season. This is our third to last episode this season, just so you know. The next episode is going to be about BDSM, so send me your questions for that. And the final episode is congratulations. So if you want to be featured and you've had your first orgasm because of listening to this podcast, DM us on How Come Podcast. Say how old you were, where it happened, where you were in the world, and a part of the podcast that inspired you the most. And please don't lie. We don't want to just have people who are like, I had my first orgasm because of the podcast, but you didn't. We're probably going to cut that. But if you did, submit all that stuff to us, and then we can talk on the phone about it and feature you on the congratulations episode. How fun is that? We did it last season. We're going to do it again. Again, this season is ending soon, but we will be posting stuff on patreon.com/howcome and doing live pods while we're on break. So come see us. Go to howcomepodcast.com or remycasimir.com for dates. And you can always just come see me do stand-up if you miss me. Also, if you want to get even closer to the How Come family, you can become a part of it. We are looking for fall interns to help with social media and brand expansion, as well as college ambassadors. So if you're in school and have any interest in either of those, email us your resume to info@howcomepodcast.com with the subject line fall intern or ambassador, and we will sort you accordingly. Today we are talking about periods and poop, mostly periods. My Diva Cup is in as I edit this podcast, and I love it oh so much. Our guests today are Miki Agrawal and Nadya Okamoto. The audio in this episode sucks ass because we recorded at Miki's house and not on our very high-tech studio at Nanny's. But yeah, you guys are going to love it. These women have revolutionized the period world and the poop world. We're going to learn so much. Are you pumped? I know you are. All right, here we go.
How come? How come? How come I can't achieve? How come I can't achieve? I'm rolling up my sleeves. I'm rolling up my sleeves. Oh baby, I believe these guests can help. 'Cause I can't do it by myself. I wanna jizz.
Hi guys, welcome back to How Come. This episode is going to be so fun. We're coming from not our grandmother's house for once. What? We're coming from one of our guests' house. She is a serial entrepreneur and founder of brands like Tushy and THINX and Icon. Give it up for Miki Agrawal.
Hello.
Hello. So nice to have you. And we also have Nadya Okamoto, the founder of Period.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. This is so exciting. I love that your son is in the room.
Just hanging out back there,
Just
eating
hanging
olives.
out. Yeah, so if you guys hear any little baby coos, it's the cutest kid in the entire world.
He's a quarter Japanese, quarter Indian, quarter Jewish, and quarter white boy.
He's great. Ladies, put it on your calendar. In 18 years, this guy's going to be on the market and you're going to love it. So I'm really excited to have you both here. We've kind of talked about periods a bit on this podcast, right? Like Betsy and I were talking about how if men had periods, you know, there would be tampons everywhere. There wouldn't be a luxury tax on all those products.
They'd be like toilet paper.
Exactly. Yeah, they would just be in bathrooms. Somebody actually wrote to me on the Instagram the other day from Disneyland, and she said that they have free sanitary napkins.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and she was like, happiest place on earth. And I was like, woo, woo, woo.
No, Gloria Steinem actually wrote a essay called If Men Could Menstruate, I think, in 1981. And it's this whole essay that's basically about how if men had periods, we would have national holidays for it, and people would size each other up based on like how heavy their flow is, and there would be like national ads on period products. It's a really great essay.
We actually spent some time rewriting it to make it more modern.
That's unreal.
We actually met with Gloria and we asked her if we could update the if men could menstruate essay and replace a lot of the 1970s analogies with the analogies from today.
Yeah.
And so,
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's still yet to be published, but it was written.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you explain, I mean, you're both very involved in the period space. But I mean,
still is, yeah.
But also you're sort of like an icon within the period
Yeah.
space. Like you are obviously someone that like I knew about when I was starting.
Me too.
And like we have like thousands of people in our network and we all know of you still as our CEO or whatever. Like we've all followed you. So even if you're not active in it, your legacy is incredible in it.
Oh, well, thank you.
Like I was literally saying before comedy anything, I was doing a Kickstarter. I modeled my Kickstarter after your Kickstarter, which is insane. And then we had the same intern, which is also insane. But also, I'm a big fan of THINX. Like it takes the pressure off of you to like think of one more thing, you know, like just wake up in the morning and feel good and don't be like, am I gonna like destroy another pair of underwear? Like, no, just like live your fucking life. So thanks for that. Thanks for that.
And thanks for Tushy. Tushy's amazing.
Yeah,
and
Tushy's
we're gonna
amazing.
get into that.
Yes.
But yeah, basically periods and poop are things that women do. And so, yeah, I just want to kind of talk about periods and how they like affect our lives, because whether you're on yours or not, it's going to affect you eventually as somebody owning a vagina.
Yeah. And Nadya, just for listeners who don't know what you've done, do you want to just say how you started?
Yeah, so I'm Nadya Okamoto. I'm just turned 21, which is lit.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm a rising junior at Harvard College, and I'm taking some time off to focus on period work. So I'm the founder and executive director of a nonprofit organization called Period, the Menstrual Movement, which is an organization that's fighting to end period poverty and period stigma through service, education, and advocacy.
That's awesome.
So we're distributing period products to people in need. We're trying to change the way people think, talk, and learn about periods through education and digital content. And we're actually now working in policy from the local to the federal level. So we're mobilizing young activists all around the country to pass legislation with city councils and school governments to get period products into school restrooms.
Cool.
We're working at the state level to repeal the tampon tax in the remaining 35 states. And this is actually my big year where we just brought in a bunch of celebs and we're doing this whole influencer strategy and working with a bunch of politicians to really repeal the tampon tax. And I want to do it in the next 2 years. But also doing some national advocacy around getting things like food stamps to cover period products as a necessity. And to do all of this, we mobilize young people. So we have a global campus chapter network at universities and high schools around the U.S. and abroad. So I started the organization when I was 16 years old, inspired by my family's own experience with living without a home of our own and talking to homeless women at the time who were in much worse living situations than I was in. And then, just started mobilizing with a friend of mine, a guy in my school who didn't even know what a period was at the time. And
why didn't your family have a home?
My mom ended up parting ways with a job, so we just were really financially unstable. And
where were you living?
We were living in Portland, Oregon.
Oh, okay.
So we entered a period of legal homelessness of living with close friends. And
Was your father there, or was just you and your mom?
No, so my dad lives in New York, and when I was 9, they divorced, and we moved out to Portland. And and so it was really my mom, me, my 2 younger sisters, and no real connections to grandparents. It was just us. And so I think it was a time at the age of 16 where I was really thinking about like privilege as a spectrum, because I knew my family was legally homeless. I knew we couldn't like list a permanent address on any school forms, and like we were like really struggling to afford basic necessities.
Yeah.
And it was really easy to think of myself as really like underprivileged when I was in school, because I was the scholarship kid at one of the most expensive private schools in Portland, right? But at the same time, I was talking to these homeless women to and from school. It took me like 2 hours to get to school on the bus. And I would talk to these homeless women who would tell me about using cardboard and toilet paper and socks to take care of their periods. So I just started mobilizing, and I think was really pushed to sort of try to live upon my potential. And so I started this organization just by distributing period products. Then through social media, started getting support and recruiting chapters. And fast forward 4 years, we have addressed over 500,000 periods through product distribution. And we've registered a little over 300 campus chapters at universities and high schools around the U.S. and abroad. And we are officially the largest youth-run NGO in women's health in the world. And one of the fastest, and we're one of the fastest growing nonprofits run by someone under 30 right now.
Oh my God. Congratulations.
Nadia just walks in like, hi, and then, she's the boss.
No, but it's really exciting. I just published my debut book called Period Power, a Manifesto for the Menstrual Movement. Actually, like really inspired by sort of these manifestos that existed in like the 1960s with Gloria Steinem and other people like that, who really wrote these manifestos for what that wave of feminism was like and what the agenda was. And I felt that, I mean, Miki, you can probably also attest to this. Like, I feel like in the period space, it was sort of really stigmatized, and then it got really public really soon, right? And a lot of that was from THINX's work, especially with the subway campaigns and things like that. So I think it was sort of like, it ignited this whole fight against the period stigma, but was super fragmented and was just so many different groups talking out at once and like competing for the same attention. And like when I got into this, I really like received animosity from some of the older activists who like didn't want me taking up space.
Interesting.
And so
that actually happened with women's voting.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
So, and we still, like, some of my biggest mentors in the space who started as my mentors are now some of the people who detest period, because we've taken a lot of that attention. And so I wrote this book because I was really like, this is a social movement, and like we're all on the same team, we're all working towards the same goal, and if we can all sort of come together on that, like, and I don't want to sound cheesy, but like it really is that if we are unified around this shared agenda and embrace that we have this shared history, then we can go further. So I kind of wrote this book for like a little sister as an intro to like fourth wave intersectional feminism, but also trying to establish that unity within the menstrual movement.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I have some thoughts around the intersectional feminism movement, just because I think it kind of fragmented the overall feminism movement as a whole. And I think that sometimes when, you know, like a group, it just look at the Women's March from this year. In the Women's March from this year, there was, in New York, there were two factions, because one was considered anti-Semite, you know, like, and the other one was not. Or it was just, it's like, it kind of promotes catfights among women. Yeah. And I find that sometimes it defeats the whole purpose. And I think also when women are often wearing things like the Future is Female t-shirts, it's sort of, it does exactly that which we're fighting against, which is oppression and feeling of lack of equality and not of unity. I was gonna say. And so I just feel like a lot of these conversations around intersectionality and around, you know, patriarchy and fighting the patriarchy just feels like it's furthering the agenda of true unity for all. So it's something fun to talk about and think about, for sure.
But I think at the same time, I totally agree with you. And like I think the New York Women's March is a really good example of that, of like it really became like white feminism versus intersectional feminism, or what people thought of as that. And I think that like and I think that was really heartbreaking for me, because I think I was realizing that like the Women's March was a lot smaller. It was very disorganized. There were like many different groups and people who were speaking out against other women feminist activists. Yeah. And so I think that like one of the things that I've tried to do is figure out like how I can be someone who just supports gender equality. Totally. But also Like, and I think I always frame it like feminism is not hating men, hating this patriarchy. It's just trying to fight for gender equality.
Exactly.
And so that's why intersectionality kind of defeats that a little bit, because it's not like women coming together to then bring all humans together, which include men. It becomes like women of color, and then women who are, transgender women, and then women of, of this and of that. And it's just like all of a sudden it's no longer one unified agenda to level the playing field.
Well, what's interesting is that when we talk about like periods, like it's not even just a women's issue. Like there are men with periods, like, and that's one of the things about the THINX ads that came out in the subway, which was like, it's for people with periods. And how do we solve that? Like when you started, I know you started from a Kickstarter, but like what was your main goal? Was it to oust tampons, or?
I mean, it was never to really be like to create a movement, you can't actually, I don't think movements are necessarily easily created. Movements often start by solving a problem. And so I think for me, it was really just having period accidents every single month and forgetting to change my tampon and pad, and really just like looking at the category and realizing that there'd only been 3 major innovations in the entire 20th century. That pads, tampons, and cups were the only real offerings for women, and pretty much most of them were invented by men.
Were cups before THINX?
Yeah, in the 80s.
Oh,
and before too, if you kind of consider like diaphragm-y type things.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
Cups were invented like almost right around the same, like the first menstrual cup was patented right around the same time the tampon was patented, but it was still warming. Yeah, it was still warming. I think the whole world was sort of warming up to just inserting anything.
Stuff,
So
and not losing it up there.
Yeah, so I think the menstrual cup it didn't really take off until the 80s or the 90s. Yeah.
I didn't use one until very recently, but only because of this podcast. Like I don't think I ever would have if not for people being like, "Hey, have you ever used one? Like, what do you think?" So I asked Diva Cup if they would send me one, and they did, and I was so excited to use it that I like got stoked when my period came. I was like, I haven't been stoked for my period for a very long time, and it was a very great experience. Like I'll use a tampon if I'm out in the world and my period surprises me, or I'll wear period underwear as backup, but I have to tell you guys that I am obsessed with the Diva Cup. Did you know that there's an economical, eco-friendly, and leak-free way to care for your period? I didn't either until recently when I discovered the Diva Cup. Diva Cup is available in 3 sizes, Model 0, Model 1, and Model 2, and is ideal for every age and flow level. Wearable up to 12 hours, the Diva Cup is great for the active lifestyle, travel, overnight, and swimming. As a reusable option, the Diva Cup saves you money month over month and is made of 100% medical-grade silicone. This means that you won't be subjecting your vagina to any chemicals, plastics, BPA, fragrances, latex, or dyes. So you can keep giving your body the love it deserves. As if that's not enough to make the switch, the Diva Cup has useful measurement lines to help you stay in the know about what's happening with your body. That's right, you get up close and personal with your flow, because we should all get to know ourselves a bit better, right? The Diva Cup has been leading the menstrual cup game for over 15 years and keeps going strong. Made in Canada and available in over 22 countries around the world, Diva Cup is available wherever period products are sold. Get yours today and join the inner revolution. Visit divacup.com to find a store near you. Also, because I knew my period was coming this time, I popped it up there before it happened, and there were no leaks. Not a dirty underwear, not once.
Yeah, for me, it was just one of those things where it was just like, how is it possible that we're still leaking and we're still dealing, we're still managing with it, managing our periods? And then it was actually at my family barbecue in 2005 that my twin sister and I were defending our 3-legged race championship title. And in the middle of the race, my twin sister started her period, and we were tied to each other. So we had to like run together to the bathroom up the stairs, still tied to each other, to change out our bathing suit bottoms. And as she was washing out the blood from her bathing suit bottoms was when the idea hit. It's like, wouldn't it be amazing to create a pair of underwear that never leak, that never stain, that support women every day of the month? And then I walked out of my door and talked to my older sister, who went to the same school as you did, and she basically, every one of her underwear was stained,
ruined,
every single one. And I was like, why? And she's a head and neck surgeon, and she was like, well, because in the middle of an operation, when I'm like operating someone's face, I can't be like, yo, face, stay open, I'll be right back, I'm gonna change your tampon. It's just not possible. And I played soccer all 4 years in college. I played for the New York Magic for 2 seasons. In the middle of a game, I played professionally for a couple of years. Yeah.
What?
Then I had 3 ACL reconstructions, which then prevent. Yeah.
Okay.
But in the middle, in the middle of a game, you can't be like, hey, ref, can you just stop the game. I'm going to change my tampon.
You're literally a period commercial.
You're just like
hey, you can still do a million cartwheels and have your period.
Well, it was one of those things where just like you talk to you're stuck in traffic, you're sitting on a date, you're performing anything, you're on a stage in any capacity. It's just like you can't interrupt.
You can't keep living your life.
And so, and for me, I was at the time running my restaurants. I opened a few restaurants, and running from one restaurant to another, I was 25, 26 years old. There was I just didn't have time to change my tampon or pad. I would just leak through everything, and it was such a disaster, and I would have to interrupt my day, go home and change, just clean up all my stuff, and it was just like ridiculous. And so when this idea sort of hit, it was just like, oh, duh. And so then my twin sister and myself and our third co-founder, Antonia, came together in 2011 and spent the next 3-4 years developing this product. And while we were developing, we would just have so many conversations with girls and women about it. This 2011, nobody was talking about periods. 2005, when we first came up with the idea, it was like you are so uncouth. You should not be
I used to say to Charlotte, I was like, I want to start like a secret Twitter where I can talk about periods and picking my nose and like discharge and like, and now I'm have a podcast where I'm like, I stuck something in my butt last week. Like the world is so different now. But like this was really funny the other day. Some guy tried to fight with me on Facebook saying that free bleeding was started as a parody by men on Reddit.
Yeah.
Free bleeding was started from the beginning of time when women didn't have sanitary products or something to like. Is that what they're called now? Does anybody call them sanitary products?
Well, I mean, like the concept of free bleeding really happened when some women started to feel liberated by their periods.
Yeah.
But the majority of women absolutely had shame around it. There was no liberation around it, and therefore the thought of free bleeding back in the day was just not even a thought or process around it. Men certainly didn't come up with it.
I was just doing it by accident.
It's not a Reddit.
Yeah, it was not a Reddit men thing. Absolutely not.
No way.
Actually, my girlfriend Kieran ran the New York City or the London Marathon and free bled, and she kind of like talked about
that was a pretty big deal.
It was so funny because it's just like. It's like every woman has her period. Every human is here because of it. Without that blood, no human being would be on the planet. And the fact that there's stigma, the fact that it's just so strange. And it was so odd. And the fact that there was no innovation was so odd. And the fact that talking to anybody about it, they're like, why are you talking to me about it?
Yeah.
Try to get press in the beginning. Press to be like, no, America's not ready to talk about this, Miki.
Right.
America does not want to be having these conversations. Why are you trying to get attention? Like, what are you trying to do? And I'm just like, I don't like, okay, sure, whatever. And so it was really so much pushback and investors forget it. Not a single investor wanted to invest in our business. We tried raising money for almost a year, didn't raise any money. So we had to launch a Kickstarter campaign because we couldn't raise anything. All the investors we would talk to were men, and they would say, should we be talking about this or should we, my wife, haha, like you're giggling. And they would be like so uncomfortable. And it was just so, the whole experience was so odd because I just never thought about it as something that was considered. I just never, because I'm from Canada. It's not like there's no shame around.
There's no shame in Canada.
Shame. It was just like
everyone is nice.
Nobody was just talking about it at all. And so nobody was not talking about it, but nobody was talking about it in a way that was shameful. It just was,
Did you have drama with the MTA then? Because ads were plastered everywhere. And I know Polly Rodriguez, who started Unbound, she was telling me she had trouble getting investor funding because of the men thing. But now it's like the MTA will put up men's ads for like erections and stuff, but they won't do women's sex toys. So they won't put up ads that don't even look sexual. Dame is also suing the MTA. We just spoke to ex-founder Alex Fine about it a few episodes ago. And Dame, along with Unbound and a bunch of other sex tech companies, all got together on International Orgasm Day this year to launch ApprovedNotApproved.com, which is a little game that shows you ads that were approved and ads that weren't. And it's a really fun game, and it's very surprising. Or, I don't know. Go check it out, ApprovedNotApproved.com. And you guys were way earlier, so I can only imagine the difficulty then.
Well, I mean, yes, in the beginning, the subway campaign, that's the taxi cabs wouldn't all of the elevator banks, none of them were permitting us to put our advertisements anywhere. Of course, no TV. Like there was just nowhere except for digital.
And everyone was dressed, and there was no blood.
Everyone was wearing. It wasn't even dressed. It was like wearing a turtleneck
and underwear, and then there was like an egg yolk being split. Like
and
the
egg yolk was the men who were deciding from the MTA. Like they would say like, that looks like male ejaculation. And we were like,
"Are you more comfortable with that?"
It's an egg drop. It's an egg because that's what happens when we're just like, forget it. And so it was one of those.
Wait,
weird,
I didn't even get that's what it was.
Yeah.
It's an egg passing through your cycle.
Yes,
exactly.
Oh my god,
exactly.
You learned something new.
Yeah,
you have some of the top women in periods on, and you're learning about periods. Who would have thought?
Yeah, and it was just one of those things that it was so. It was like, wait, they rejected our ads because of the word period, because we can't talk about it in the most progressive city in the world, New York City. It was just, again, cognitive dissonance totally. One after another. And then we were like, all right, if you don't allow our ads to be in the subways, we are going to go to press with this story. It's too crazy. Yeah. And we, of course, at the time didn't have any press contacts. And so we were trying to like bluff and see if they would say yes. And they called our bluff and they were like, go to press, good luck.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, thank you, we'll do. All right. And we, of course, like I had two kind of contacts maybe that, if they would return my emails, it would be nice. So I sent them like an email subject heading scandal with the MTA.
Hilarious.
And then like the subject heading said something, like New York City disapproved these ads when they have breast augmentation ads lining the subways, Museum of Sex ads all over the place. It was like women like in these like, sort of GQ and lingerie commercials with their booties out and their tits out in the push-up bras. And the thing that creates human life was not acceptable. And the response that we got from the MT after we questioned it, they were like, what if a 9-year-old boy sees these ads?
Who fucking cares?
Exactly. We were like, that would actually be great because it would create discourse. And we would say, well, son, let's talk about how you came to be and how to respect periods. It just wasn't in the zeitgeist.
Literally,
at the
I
time.
had a friend that thought girls didn't poop and that's what the period was. Like the
All
poop
of
just
the build,
disappears
this is a
and
thing.
it turns into blood, and this person was in high school
when he thought that. Isn't that wild?
It was crazy.
Also, with that 9-year-old boy example, that kind of bothers me because even recently a companion wrote me and she's like, I agree with Dame and sex toy ads not being allowed in the subway because I babysit a 7-year-old boy and what if he sees it? And I'm like, why are we all so concerned with 7-year-old boys and not 7-year-old girls who could really benefit from this information about their periods and their sex lives? Not that a 7-year-old girl is having a sex life, but I always say this. If I had been educated about masturbating as a child, I wouldn't have grown up thinking all of my sexual encounters were reliant on a man and subconsciously that any fun I was having depended on a dude being there or liking me. Like, if I had been educated about THINX and Diva Cups as a child, too, I'm sure my period life would have been much easier and those ads would have made me feel much more normal.
Yeah.
What I always talk about with Charlotte is that, like, I had this weird thing with orgasms because, like, I mean, I still mostly require something electronic or something foreign, something not of my body to take care of it. And I always think, if I was on a desert island, how would I deal with this? And I kind of used to think the same thing about periods when I was like in history class as like a child or whatever, and you're thinking about like our ancestors growing up in huts and stuff and getting their periods, and like there was a lot of thing of like, oh yeah, a woman would be kept in a hut alone for like the entire 10 days of her period or how many days
that
it
still
was.
happens.
Is it still happening?
No, there are literally 4 people have died in January 2019 in Nepal because of the practice of isolating women and girls when they're on their periods. Four people died in January.
Chopadi.
That's wild.
Yeah, no, it still happens all around the world.
And do you understand what the practice is, right? It's basically the thought is that if the women are sleeping in their homes, then snakes might come and kill the fathers. And snakes might come in and put a curse on the home. Or like their curse, it's all these superstitions around. It's called Chopadi. And it's like this practice that's been going on since the beginnings of patriarchy.
And the interesting thing about it too is that it's not like, I think when people hear about it, they always think, it's the men, it's the patriarchy who are upholding that practice. But that practice is actually, it's been made illegal. It's not legal. It's been recognized as a violation of human rights, but it's something that's held as a sacred practice by the women in the community. So it's mostly like the women and like the grandmothers who think of this as a sacred
I mean, we do stuff to hurt ourselves
deep
all the time.
So deep. It's
Yeah.
because you believe, you're like, oh my God, oh wow, wait, there was, because there was a big the big earthquake that killed all those people. That was blamed on menstruating women by Nepali men.
Stop.
No, it was
because it's the idea of like curses being around like women
not in their homes.
And
so they were like, if they were staying in their homes, that's why the earthquake happened, which killed all those people, because women started sleeping in their homes on their periods. That is a, like, if you talk to Maggie Doyne, who is this incredible woman who started this organization in Nepal. She adopted 51 children and started this incredible organization.
Wow.
And one of the big problems that a lot of the girls in her orphanage have, or in her sort of district has, is that deep held belief by the women, by the grandmothers, by the mothers, that it's often upheld by the women as much as the men.
Same thing with like practices like female genital mutilation, right? Like one of the big reasons I think I got really passionate about the cultural aspects around the stigma and period taboo in general was learning that like a girl's first period in a lot of different cultures is like when they get married, when they drop out of school, when female genital mutilation happens, or when social isolation happens. And female genital mutilation is another example of like a practice that's just an outright like violation of human rights, but at the same time is a practice that's like performed by women and upheld as a sacred tradition by women, right? And I mean, of course it's something that like men also support, and it's very stigmatized, but it's like the literal practice of female genital mutilation is usually done by the elderly women in the community.
I mean, this is not even real, but Handmaid's Tale, even, it's like the women that are like getting everybody, or even like we were talking about the R. Kelly documentary. R. Kelly, it's the women that bring him these women and train him, or these girls, and train them to have sex.
But
like,
you know,
it's both.
But it comes from it's the deep held belief system that really stems from this patriarchal preconditioning. And again, like, men are victims of patriarchy too, for sure. Yeah. And so it's not about like the patriarchy as in men of today. I think when we're marching on sort of in Washington, we're marching against the old guard, the old sort of mentality around patriarchy. Because I feel like the men of today who are good men, like my husband as an example, and all the men in my community, they're all, I call them snags in my book, secure new age guys, who are really able to really support women in a powerful way and hold space for us in a way that's not that doesn't feel like it's kowtowing to anyone. It's not like, it's not like, okay, the future's female, women are better. It's just like, no, we're all just humans.
No. Well, that's the thing is like, I think what we were saying before about like, we're kind of going against the traditional idea of feminism, which is like man hating, whatever. It's like, no, it's equalism. That's what we're trying to achieve.
So that was what I was going to say about intersectionality earlier. Is that to me it really is just saying that like in the past, the people who have had a lot of platform in fighting for equal rights, like in the past, like even like in the last century, there wasn't always a lot of dialogue about not just supporting women, but realizing that there were also differences in privilege among all women, right? And I think that's what intersectionality really means to me. It's not saying like I am a woman of color and like I'll gather all my women of color activists together, but it's really saying that like we're fighting for equal rights, and unfortunately there's privilege that a white woman has over a black woman, and it's important to talk about those issues and those disparities amongst women as we fight for all women, right? Like, and I think that's really what it means to me. But I do know that the word intersectionality has become has taken on its own meaning as well. That
the same way feminism did.
You just
equated it with like
in the context of privilege. Yes, like the axes of privilege. I talk about that in my book Disrupt Her, and we talk about how being a woman is just one point of oppression. How there's like, if you're educated, if you English is your first language, those are points of privilege. If you are able-bodied, if you're cisgendered, if you have
two parents,
if you have two parents who love you, if you have it's just like these are all points of privilege. That being a woman is just one of them. So if you're a man but you are transgender, homosexual, disabled, you are at such a disadvantage than being just a woman who's also has all the other points of privilege. And so that's what I kind of try to argue in Disrupt Her, where it's just like, it's like being a woman, yes, it is a point of oppression, and we definitely should galvanize together to create that equality. At the same time, it's just one of, and for intersectionality is really acceptance of all.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
It's acceptance of all in all forms, in all genders, in all, whatever you want to call yourself that. We support you. That is the definition of intersectionality.
See, I thought that the female gender or people with vaginas were always less than, especially I think a lot of us grew up like learning about Adam and Eve or whatever, and you learn that Eve is evil and she did all this stuff, and then childbirth and getting her period were like a punishment for being the worst one. And literally when I started getting my period, like that, I'm not religious. We're not religious, but I mean, like, we're Jewish, and like we go to high holy days, but like I don't believe it. It is such a thing ingrained in you that when you get your period, you're like, oh fuck, this is like a punishment.
Okay, so it actually goes a lot further than that too. So I was actually born, raised Catholic. Like my mom is a very progressive Catholic. Like when we lost our house, we like moved in with a gay couple who are like now my gay dads.
Nice.
But like my family is very progressive, but we did grow up like Jesuit Catholic. Like I went to church every Sunday. Like in middle school, I was like an altar server at the cathedral. Like very like it was part of my life, and I always wore a cross. And then my freshman year at Harvard, I read the Bible for the first time ever.
Whoa.
And I remember reading it, and it actually says that like there was no initial intention of God creating woman, right?
Right.
He only created man.
Yeah.
Like, that was
she was for him.
Yeah. And then he realized
she's
like,
an accessory.
And the
You're
actual
a purse.
wording is that he realizes that man needs a helper, that he cannot do it alone.
An assistant.
So, exactly. So he creates woman from the bones of man so that she always knows where she comes from. And then when she does the initial sin of the apple, then the punishment is the childbirth and the and knowing that the husband will always rule over her. And it was actually like the last few years, like the last 3 years have been a lot of like my feeling so confused around like what this is. And I talked to my mom and like my godmother, who's like a Catholic chaplain. I talk to them all the time about like, how can I be following this religion that inherently calls women helpers, right?
Yeah.
And the majority of women, even the good women in the Bible, are all ones that lead by sinning, right? Like the woman always sins, the woman lies, and it becomes an example of what you should not do, and how like they're trying to like deviate man and like all of this stuff. And I think like it's been interesting because everyone I talk to about it is like, okay, well, you can't take the Bible literally, like you have to.
But people do.
Yeah,
people do,
exactly.
And that's what, if that's what you grow up with, all the stories of like Delilah was the evil one. Like there's so many evil women in the Bible. I can't think of one evil guy.
No,
Pontius Pilate.
I mean, there are a lot of evil men. There's a lot of evil men.
There's a lot of evil guys.
But I think
pulling out like ninth grade, like history.
But I think the interesting thing about like religion within the period space is that religion has played such a huge part in shaping the basis of a lot of period stigma.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a lot of practices that are religious around periods as well, whether they be positive or negative. But also like religion is a huge driver for why some of our biggest period donors and supporters support period, because it's like the Christian, quote unquote Christian thing to do.
Yeah.
But also it's a big reason why period gets a lot of hate and why like I still get a lot of death threats, right? Because they think that me embracing periods and like talking about periods is like against the word and will of God. But like it's like I write about this a lot in Period Power.
Is that because of sex, like its relationship to sex? What is so inherently?
It's just the idea that like it's something that like should like makes women is very private, and like it's disrespectful to like God and the higher powers to like embrace it in this different way that God intended to.
Do you think that they go after Viagra companies?
No, I mean
I'm genuinely serious.
I mean,
like
I think what's been interesting is like I've been in conversations with men who are like, no, Viagra is a necessity because we need to have sex, and like some men need to Viagra to be able to have sex. Like no, it's a very interesting difference.
But the whole thing is to have sex to have a baby, right? If you're being like the utmost Christian, like you're trying to have a baby, you got to have your period. You got to clean out the womb once a month so that it can make another.
Well, but I think
make a little hero.
Most people don't know that that's what a period is. Like there's just a severe like lack of education around like most people. If you ask most guys like what a period is, they won't say like uteral lining, egg dropping. Like to them, it's just like
mucus.
Blood comes out once a month. Like that's all they know. But But I mean, on the religion topic too, I mean, there are practices like, for example, in Islam, like most of the time women don't pray, or by practice, women don't pray while they're on their period because their body's cleansing. And so while they're cleansing, they don't pray to God. Right. And there's practices like, I mean, in like the Iroquois tribes and I forget which tribe specifically, but there are tribes where like there's these practices where like all the women go in a tent and then there's like religious ceremonies around syncing up cycles and that kind of thing too, and like making sure that you're in a tent and someone cuts themselves and like puts the blood on all the corners of the tent. Like
pretty much all of it is just passed down generationally.
Yes, absolutely.
And so it's like, yeah, the Bible, of course, all of it is just text or passed down from grandparents to parents to you. And then it's like, oh, well, it's just been done that way, like wiping your butt with dry paper or what you've been using of your period, all these, it's just preconditioning that we have to unravel. And it's the unraveling of it that's really, really hard. Unraveling the fact that people were not supposed to talk about periods because that's what society in heavy quotes said you shouldn't talk about. Meanwhile, society is created by people who are no different than any of us from 150 years ago.
That's what's special about humans. Like monogamy, if you watch that monogamy episode of Explained, it's like monogamy is not natural to us. But the thing about people is we do a lot of shit that's not natural to us. We've learned stuff before. We can unlearn. We can relearn. Like that shouldn't be an issue.
That's it. And I think that's why, like, starting the companies like THINX or Icon or Tushy have all just showed me that, even if society is telling you it's bad idea, no one's going to buy it, no one's interested in investing in it, no one's going to bleed in their underwear, no one's going to spray water up their butts, and you're like, it's not up your butt, it's like on your butt. And it's like don't you take a shower when you like want to clean your body? Don't you like wash your dishes with water when you want to clean the dirty dishes? Like the fact that we've been so deeply indoctrinated to use dry paper to properly wipe ourselves down just doesn't make any sense.
I mean, I'm proud of myself that I can openly fart in front of my boyfriend now. Like genuinely, like, wow, this is such a big deal for me.
100%.
It is. Because I never wanted to be the girl who farts, the girl who and now it's like,
yeah, exactly. And at the time, it was just one of those things where there was so much pushback, and it turns out that people are interested in trying new things. People are.
Like you've done so well.
Interested, and the businesses have all done so well because people are just sick of dealing and hiding and just like managing the way it's been done. I mean, like even just from a pooping perspective, the way we wipe ourselves has not changed since the late 1800s. The minute we have our cell phones, we are, on Wi-Fi, and the minute we step into our bathrooms, poof, we're back into the 1890s. And why? Because we don't want to, again, talk about and face the fact that might be smelling up the toilet, and we just want to like go run in and run out and not think about it. And it's like, okay, my parents, my grandparents, my great-grandparents taught us about toilet paper, and that's just what we're going to do. Meanwhile, toilet paper is killing 15 million trees per year to make toilet paper. A single roll of toilet paper requires 37 gallons of water to make one roll of toilet paper.
Oh my God.
The average American uses 57 sheets of toilet paper per day because they're wrapping it around their hand, trying to like not touch the poop. Meanwhile, there's more E. coli poisoning from poop, infected, foodborne illness at restaurants than anywhere because people are not properly cleaning themselves.
So how do
we look at the
solve
rest of the world? Yeah. So in Europe and Asia, everyone has adopted the bidets. Middle East, South America, so many countries have adopted the bidets.
Will you tell our listeners what Tushy is?
Yeah, Tushy is simply a modern bidet. It looks like a beautiful iPhone next to your toilet. It doesn't look like some weird random contraption. It clips onto your existing toilet, turns any toilet into a bidet in 10 minutes. It's only $69, unlike those expensive Japanese,
we have one of those bidets in our grandma's house.
Yeah, well, that's what wealthy people have. Just kidding. Yeah, and you have like these expensive Japanese bidets, or you have these French bidets that you have to shimmy over with your poopy butt, which everyone's like, is that like where your dog like drinks out of? People have no idea what they are. And so, and it's just like the minute it's just like, oh, water. Like, why would I ever spray my butt? One of the big stigmas is it's gay. That's one of the reasons why. Back in the day, people were like, oh, you're spraying in my butt. I don't want to get penetrated back there. You're like, you're not getting penetrated. It's like gentle stream that washes you like you wash your body. And it's just like, oh, well, isn't poop spraying everywhere? It's like, no. It's like a waterfall. It's a reverse water that pulls the poop in to the toilet. Oh, is it using dirty toilet water or the toilet tank water? And you're like, no, it's literally pulling from the wall, the same water you brush your teeth with. with. It's all these things that people are just trying really, really hard to not to resist it in the same way. They're like, no one's ever going to bleed in their underwear. Disgusting. No one's ever going to wash the blood out. Meanwhile, you're like, you literally wash the blood out of your underwear, your jeans, your sheets,
that's
like your mattress.
Though,
you know,
but half the fun of THINX is like draining the blood out and seeing what you did.
Just to finish up the conversation around Tushy. It's like, and by the way, don't go to tushy.com. It's a porn site.
Oh.
Go to Hello.
I have done that before.
It's very graphic. Go to Hello Tushy.
I mean, go to both.
Go to HelloTushy.com. Nasty Gal used to be a porn site. And so most websites are porn sites. Yeah.
Our brother used to live in LA, and Charlotte used to order a lot of Nasty Gal LA, and our parents were looking at the bills and they were like, Spencer's buying so many sex toys.
I was like, I just wanted sweaters.
I just wanted sweaters and affordable boots.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So there's again stigma around everything that's unfamiliar.
Yeah.
And so the way to do it, the way to break taboos, there's really a thesis on how to shift culture.
Yeah.
And get people from doing something and doing something else. And so in my experience of all the companies, it's a thesis that works. So the thesis is pretty much a 3-pronged thesis. So kind of like when you're putting a camera on a tripod, it needs to have like
3 legs.
Yeah. And if it has 2 legs, it'll fall. If it has 1 leg, obviously it'll fall. It needs all 3 to stand strong. Yeah. So the first one is a best-in-class product. The product needs to be not just, I would wear it, I would use it, I would probably, it's an all right, it's a weird contraption, but I'll just put, no, it has to look beautiful, it has to feel beautiful, it has to feel like I would want to wear it. I want to talk to people about it. Yeah. So best-in-class product.
I like wearing THINX more than I like wearing my hanky-pankies.
Totally.
They're better fitting, they're sexy. Like
I'm wearing them right now.
Yeah, they're the best.
Yeah, and so it's like, best-in-class product, cannot compromise on that. The second prong is considered design across every touch point of your brand. So when we think about our Subway campaigns, like we could have done like another boring campaign, or we were like, no, it needs to be an artful gallery experience.
Yeah.
When you walk through the Subway, I want it to be so arresting that a guy in a wearing like a backwards baseball hat with Michigan and football would stop and be like, yo, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Like it would be like, wow, that feels like I'm like, it's an artful experience. And we saw so many people and just standing in the subways taking pictures of the campaigns like bros, like the broiest guys.
It also made periods kind of sexy too, and I always had like a difficult time bringing up my period with, I'd either be using periods as an excuse not to have sex. For some, which is like, what are you doing? Just say no. You don't blame it on your period as if your period is this thing, because then the next time you have your period, they're going to be like, oh, you can't have sex because you have your period. No, like I want to have sex on my period. It makes me feel good. Like, isn't it like chemically better? It like chemically helps your body to be massaged from the inside. And
yes. Yeah. I mean, so anyway, so all of it just was second thing is considered design across every touch point of your brand. And the last thing is accessible, relatable language across all the touch points of your brand. So like oftentimes when you talk about periods, it could sound very technical, very medical, very clinical, very academic. And that is like over people's heads. Yeah. And we tried that at first with things like THINX Quad-Tech technology, leak-proof absorbent, antimicrobial moisture wicking, blah,
people
blah,
were like,
blah.
nope.
They were like, I don't fucking know what you're talking about. I'm out, Or you can say, like
washable period underwear.
It's just like it works. Period proof underwear that protects you from leaks and keeps you feeling dry. Yeah. Like as simple and straightforward as that. And it was really one of those like aha moments where we were like, oh my God, like the way we text our best girlfriends about anything is the way we should write our campaigns.
Yeah.
And so that's really what it ended up becoming. Like if you look at all of our Tushy wording and all of the brands, sort of like the way we talk about it, it's as though you're texting your best friend. Yeah. And if you use those 3-prong thesis, you literally can shift culture in any category.
How did you finally get the MTA to approve your ads?
Because they got so many tweets after the ads. So the Subway like scandal for the press thing went viral internationally. And then they got so much like tweets and hate from being like, you guys are, the word, so they were like, all right. And so they finally approved them.
Yeah, we have to do that now with sex toys. You guys send some angry tweets because
female-related products.
Not
just
Tushy was just banned from the subways. They said it's a sex product.
Fuck that.
They were like, it's a cleaning product.
And everyone has a butthole. That's crazy. And this shouldn't be a gender thing either, because we know now that there are some men out there who are having their period and there are some women who have penises, and whatever your part is, the products that are invented to help you out should be able to be advertised. And this brings me to one of our favorite products for people with penises, Roman swipes. Oh my God. We love these swipes so much, and so will you if you are banging someone with a penis, or if you have a penis, you're going to love Roman swipes. Think about this. Everyone wants to last longer, but thinking about baseball doesn't always work. The folks at Roman, an online men's health company, are changing the game with Roman swipes. The secret to longer, better sex. Roman swipes are convenient, over-the-counter wipes clinically proven to help you last longer. They're effective, doctor-approved, easy to use, and fast-acting. It sounds too good to be true, right? Well, swipes are the real deal. Studies have shown up to a 340% increase in stamina after 3 months of regular use. They will ship to you in discreet, unmarked packaging, and each swipes packet is small enough to hide in your wallet. Also, what makes swipes better than all those creams and foams out there is that the desensitizing effect will not transfer to your partner or numb you. Because, like, what is the use of longer sex if you don't get to feel the longer sex, right? And they're super easy to use. Just take the swipes out of the packet, wipe it on your most sensitive areas, wait a few minutes. That's it. Literally, that's it. Keep Roman swipes in your back pocket for longer, better sex, and get yours fast with free 2-day shipping by visiting getroman.com/howcome. That is getroman.com/howcome for longer sex. That's getroman.com/howcome. Seriously, they are changing the game, and they are the secret to longer, better sex. Roman swipes, they are the quick way to take your time. We just love products for penises and vaginas. And if you need any of them, go out and get them. If you want Roman swipes, getroman.com/howcome.
No, yeah, but the branding thing I think is so interesting, especially with, I think, the movement around just trying to destigmatize periods, because so much of it, and poop to the same extent, is just talking about it and like redefining what it means. And the hardest part is just getting people to talk about it. And I think I think what I really realize pushes people to care about this beyond themselves is to understand that they're carrying on the stigma themselves and the shame around periods doesn't only affect them and the people around them, but is part of an overall problem for like all of the
like if you stick your little tampon in your sleeve to go to the bathroom, don't do that. Just let it fly. Like,
but it's not even for themselves. Like, no, it's for really other people. Like, it's for
we were
all
talking
the people
about
around you.
Like the campfire rule that Dan Savage said. Like, if you're not having fun in bed, don't tell the person, that was great, I had a screaming orgasm. That's gonna be fucked up for the next girl, or the next guy, or whatever. Like, make people better for other people. So the products that you're giving people, are they mostly tampons, pads? Or are you doing underwear?
They're mostly disposable pads because a lot of the women we work with don't have access to clean bathrooms. But we do distribute tampons, pads, menstrual cups, period underwear as well. So, and Flex too. We've done Flex too. But we work with, when we started the organization, 100% of our budget was just buying products. Now 0% of our budget is buying products.
They're all donated?
Yeah, we work with You by Kotex, Tampax always.
Wow.
You know, Diva Cup, Lena Cup, Lunette Cup. THINX is a big sponsor of ours as well. Flex has given a bunch of period products, but, so
a lot of them are great for Tushy's great for the environment. THINX is great for the environment. The Diva Cup's great for the environment.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, and they're all things that you can just, instead of thinking, oh my God, I have to fucking buy tampons once a month. Like, it's a thing that you have. Like, so I have more THINX underwear than I have regular underwear now because I'm like, why wouldn't I? I'll just wear it on a not period day too.
Yep.
You were talking about communicating and bringing, those conversations about periods and poop and all this stuff. Like, how about into a relationship, like, or if you're hooking up with somebody for the first time, how do people have those conversations surrounding, maybe this is a first date, but like I have my period and like.
Okay, so this is interesting because I'm so period positive and I like, you type in period girl and like my name comes up. Like, I've actually never had period sex and I've never felt comfortable hooking up while I'm on my period.
Interesting.
And I think a lot of it is like, I think sex for me at the same time, like, it's taken me until like a few months ago to really own my sexual experiences because I grew up with a lot of sex abuse in my own family with my dad. And then I grew up with a lot of sexual assault. I experienced a lot of sexual assault in high school. And I think for me, like, it's still a journey of like just trying to debunk the myths around and shame around periods in my own head and in my own relationships. Like, my current boyfriend wants to have period sex more than I do because I think for me, I still get like nervous about like not my reaction but his reaction, and I'm very reflective about that because I know like if any girl came up to me and told me that, I'd be like,
you would be like,
I'd be like, are you kidding?
It.
Like,
yeah,
go for
exactly.
it. Like, own your period experience. But when it comes to my own experience, it's been really interesting because I think that I really realize how much like the indoctrinated shame is in my head still.
But it's also not the healthiest to have sex on your period.
Really?
In that like when it's pushing old blood, when like the old blood, especially if he comes inside, I mean, like you shouldn't do that anyway.
Oh.
Like, but if it's pushing the blood in versus letting it come out, there is something about old blood remaining in your uterus, like in that area. So I mean, like it's not ideal to have sex on your period actually from a health perspective.
Interesting.
But I mean, like people still do, and it's fine. You pee after sex and you're okay, but it's just not, I mean, like I don't have sex on my period because I don't want to have the blood that's supposed to come out get pushed back in.
I'm also in pain. Like my cramps have gotten really bad.
Oh, see, for me, it's the opposite. I feel like it's like alleviated. Yeah. And I know a lot of people who have like my cramps go. Yeah, sure. Totally. And that's the other thing. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. If you do want to do it, do it.
Yeah. But I think you know what's interesting is I think that what's been interesting in like my own relationships and then also seeing like my peers' relationships is it's always like a relationship milestone when you can like pee in front of each other.
Oh,
when
yeah.
you can, like, fart in front of each other, and when you can
put
like,
in a
talk
tampon.
about it.
I put in a tampon recently.
Yeah, you can be a person in front of
them.
them.
Like when you, I think when you can even like,
yeah.
you know, like on your first date, like a lot of people are like, oh, you don't talk about you. Like you sort of think that there are things that you don't talk about. Like I think it's always funny, like when you're like, oh my gosh, guess what? We peed in front of each other. Or like, I went into the bathroom after we pooped. Like, it's like such a big deal. And I think it just goes to show like how it's considered so intimate.
Yeah, like he's been licking your butt for a year. You won't fart in front of him? Like, that's literally... What are you talking about?
I actually make a point of it to on the first date say the worst things about myself or like bring up poop and like just see how they
just see how they deal with it.
If they can't, probably not going to get along with you.
When I first met Andrew and we were just working on THINX together, he would be so curious about it. So he would just be constantly asking other women, so do you have any stained underwear on the back of your drawer? Yeah. And they'd be like, what? But it's a good, like, no, I just want to know because like, you know, like my girlfriend's starting this thing called THINX and it's like underwear, you know, that
they have no idea and they're like, what the
they're
fuck
like,
is this
what
pervert?
are you talking about? And so it was in the beginning, it was so funny because he was so open about talking to everyone about it and asking, because he was just genuinely curious too. Yeah. And we've never, like, now we're at a place now that if I'm like pooping and I need like extra help like getting the last bits of poop out, he comes over and like pushes my belly to get the last bits out.
There's a girl that Charlotte used to work with who would always talk about how her boyfriend and her would push each other's stomachs. Now it's like a thing with me and my boyfriend.
It's
I'm like,
so good.
You need to push my stomach
Lower
around,
left
like
quadrant.
move
it in circles.
move the poop, move the poop.
Really helps when you have gas pain.
Also, if you need to fart or whatever when you're sleeping, lay on your left side.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Good to know. Because like you know you have the little footstool to poop better, right?
What's that thing?
Squatty potty.
Squatty potty. Yeah.
Although Toshi is coming out with one. Stay tuned. And it's so much. It's beautiful and,
and it's going to be so
it's like
much
gorgeous. Fun. Yeah. And you know like there's still some when you don't have a footstool, you actually don't get the last bits out. So you do need to somehow squeeze
it's the natural way, like people used to sit and squat in the woods. It wasn't about sitting upright. Very 100%. Interesting. I'll post a diagram for you guys.
Yes.
To teach you. But that's so interesting that you haven't had period sex.
No.
Did you?
And the pooping thing is an interesting thing for me too, because I've had a really weird relationship with pooping since I was very young, because I grew up with like there's always a lot of like anxiety in my house growing up, because there's a lot of abuse in our house.
Right.
But also like I grew up in New York City before we moved to Portland, like a few blocks away from the World Trade Center. There's like a lot of anxiety right after 9/11.
Sure.
And so I used to get really constipated to like really bad degree when I was really young.
Were you scared to poop?
It was scared to poop, but also like it was always really painful.
You had a friend like that.
And then if I was too anxious, I would just not do it. So I would like go weeks or days without pooping.
Oh my God.
And it would get really bad. And so actually like when I was younger, like the way my mom and like my doctors would like measure how I was feeling mentally was like if I was pooping, right?
Stomach things are so tied to
it actually,
mental health.
Yeah, and it actually still happens, because I have like I'm trying to be not a workaholic, but like I very much am. Like I catch myself like
you never,
but like I catch myself holding, but also being like, shoot, if I have to go to the bathroom, it's 5 minutes, and then I have to like, then I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna poop like after this, and like after this phone call, and like, so I actually like yesterday, like I was like looking at my boyfriend, and I was like, I haven't pooped in 4 days. Like I really need to like just go like sit on the toilet, like. But it's super interesting because I think I've never been able to like have that experience of like, it's not something like my sisters love to poop, like it's like the thing that they do every day, and I've never had that. I've always been like, get it over, like I just like, keep going on with my day. Well, and actually, especially when I ran for office when I was a freshman at Harvard. I ran for Cambridge City Council.
Oh, nice.
And I ran against like 26 other candidates. It was like I became like the youngest Asian American in America to run, and like it was like a very stressful experience. And actually, from the day I announced my candidacy all the way until the day after the election, I did not get my period, and I like pooped very irregularly because of how stressed out I was. And I kept going to the doctor being like, I'm constipated, I have not gotten my period, like I'm not even on birth control, like I don't know what's happening. And they were just like, you're just really stressed out, like you just need to like go relax. And so for me, actually, when I relax is when I get my period, when I poo. It's like
I would try meditation practice.
I know it. I really
seriously
need to.
The pleasure mechanics on our Anal 101 episode this season said that tension and stress is held in the ass, and that's why we have the term tight ass.
Yeah.
You know, in the developing world, and for women, like for Tushy, our Give Back partner is an organization in India called Samagra, and they basically build clean latrines all over India. Right now, the global sanitation crisis affects over 3 billion people globally, and over 1 billion people don't have a safe place to go to the bathroom. Especially girls and women are really, really, really compromised, and oftentimes girls and women hold in their pee and their poop, because if they go outside in the broad daylight without a place to go, they can get raped, they can get pillaged, they can get assaulted, they can get name called, they can get so many things. And so women and girls often don't drink enough fluids, don't eat enough food, and hold in their pee and their poop all day long, and then wait till nightfall, and then go in groups of women together to go, sometimes walking 5 miles away to go and relieve themselves. And this isn't like a once a week or once a month or once of whatever. This is every single day. This is the reality. And when you're holding in your pee and your poop,
debilitating to your body.
You can get UTIs all the time. It's really, really bad for your body to not poop like regular. If you have to go and you're holding the urge,
your body tells you when something's wrong. Literally, your body, like if you have an eating disorder, you can lose your period. On a recent episode, Dr. Francois Ede said that erectile dysfunction is usually a sign of another health problem like diabetes. That's your body being like, something's like, you need to nourish us, please. Like if things start changing, if I wake up without a stomach ache, I'm like, am I not Jewish anymore? That's so crazy. What's happening?
Yeah, I mean, not pooping 4 days in a row is you should drink a lot more fluids.
I know.
And meditate and just like really take some, like, block out time for yourself to just be like, I'm gonna go run and work out, because running and working out does move the things around, and have sex does help things around too. But also pressing your stomach and doing some yoga poses can really help, like when you're just doing like this with your legs, you know. But it is real that being regular is so more for longevity and long-term health. I would just really urge you to think about that.
And that's something I really want to do. I mean, like even my 2019 resolutions was like poop more, like relax more. Because the thing is, like for me, self-care, like my journey, like because activism is exhausting, because like the whole idea of activism is that you're pushing against the status quo, right? Yeah. So like it's always a thing where you like always feel you always feel like you're something really big, like society is pushing back against you. But also it means that like with activism, I have had the experience of never feeling like I'm doing enough, right? Like it's always like you go to sleep every day being like, the problem still exists, the patriarchy is still here, like there's so much more you could do. And so I think that a lot of like my being an activist has like pushed me to really rapidly learn how to self-care in ways that work, right? So for me, it's like I need to work out an hour a day, no matter what, no matter where I am, because like exercise for me is like when it's just for me, and like it's no one else is in this space. It's like I'm doing it not to look hot for someone else, but like because I need to take care of myself. And so it's been really interesting, I think, especially working in periods, which feels like so close to like taking care of yourself and your body, and then as an activist trying to take care of myself to do that work.
Totally.
An interesting
it's
journey.
Interesting that you say that, because I literally in therapy the other day was talking about my lack of hygiene, whatever. Like we have a whole episode called Dirty Girl Privilege that basically is me admitting how gross I am. And my therapist was like, you're bad at self-care. And like, do you think maybe that tied into your not masturbating thing for a lot. And I was like, oh my God, yeah. Like, I don't take care of myself. So therefore, why would I think I deserved pleasure? Why would I deserve to be taken care of by someone else?
Yeah, it's so true. And going back to your thought around like the patriarchy still there, it's so interesting because I think about that all the time. It just like, you know, this patriarchal preconditioning, and it's not like, again, the men of today are also equally victims of the patriarchy. They're just doing what they've been told and what they've been taught, and so it's very much deep indoctrination for everyone.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that, you know, like in my book Disrupt Her, I share really how simple it is to just get rid of the patriarchy in one generation. And it's as simple as doing it like the bonobo apes. So the bonobo apes operate as a matriarchy. And every time there is an aggressive male bonobo that tries to get with a female bonobo, all the females come together and shun the aggressive male away. And the aggressive
also,
male...
don't they fuck to say hello?
Yeah, and the aggressive male... Exactly. And the aggressive male dies a lonely, miserable death by himself. Will never procreate with a female bonobo. The female bonobos will only choose to procreate with the kindest, gentlest, most loving male bonobos. And in one generation can completely eradicate an aggressive society into a kind, gentle, loving one. And now today, in this day and age, women, mothers specifically, are either primary or co-breadwinners. 64% of mothers are either primary or co-breadwinners today. Wow. And so as a result, if women now control the purse strings for the most part, majority, and we procreate, we can just be like, fuck you, I ain't procreating with a single asshole. Yeah. Only someone who really wants to make me feel like a beautiful queen, makes me feel like an equal, who makes me feel like you're supporting me. I'm not just supporting you.
Yeah. But we've been supporting the assholes. We are more attracted to the assholes. Exactly. And why do we do that?
Because it's the James Dean cigarette smoking
but
asshole.
But who did that?
But the zeitgeist is shifting. And like it is shifting. And I think as more and more and more women choose these woke, like wonderful, good men in the world, all the aggressive males will die off. In one generation, we're done with the patriarchy. It's like that simple. But we've forgotten as women that we hold all of the power inside our wombs, because our wombs have been considered shameful, periods, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, like the Bible, all the things have told us that our wombs aren't the most powerful thing that the humanity has, which is literally, we don't need to raise our fists one more day. We literally don't. I talk about that at every, like, it's just like we're smarter than walking in marches. We're smarter than Futures Female. We're smarter than like talking shit. We're smarter than all that.
Fucking
just
assholes.
Stop fucking assholes. It's that simple. And you're done. And
hashtag stop fucking assholes.
Hashtag
That's really what we're here to talk about.
Yeah. Assholes. And we are it's game over. And
you can fuck people in
fuck
the
nice
asshole,
yes.
but don't fuck assholes.
It's so straightforward. We have forgotten that we hold all the power inside our wombs.
Yeah.
And if every woman came together around that's a march. That is a movement.
Yeah.
If we as a movement, as women, come together and say, fuck you assholes, no more, only good, kind men. So many of my girlfriends are like, ugh, kind guys are I don't get a lady boner at all for them. And that's also a problem.
Yeah.
But we have
to figure that shit out.
We've forgotten to like the nice guys.
And that's the thing of self-care too, is like, I'd rather be with someone who puts me in my place.
Exactly.
What is your place?
Yeah.
Put him up on a pedestal, you know, like have somebody who worships you.
It's just, again, all part of the preconditioning that we have to unravel.
Definitely.
Like, you know, the nice guys, like my husband is hot. He's cool. He's manly in the bedroom. He's amazing. And he treats me like a fucking queen. Like it's both. It's like you don't have to lose the manliness and like by being like good to your woman. Like it's both.
There's
it's
nothing hotter than being a kind person.
Yeah. Will you accept cunnilingus during your period?
I'll accept anything.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
No, I'll accept it. I just prefer not to.
Okay.
I just prefer. I'm just Japanese. Maybe call it that. Where I'm just clean. Like I like clean.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I like it when it's
Marie
nice
Kondoing your vagina.
Marie Kondo.
That's amazing. That's good. Okay, no, because that was one of the big things I took away from season 1 was somebody was like, you know, you can get eaten out and they don't have to touch the blood. Like you can have a tampon in, or you can have, you know, like whatever, and they can just still lick your clit. And I was like, oh, so interesting. Had no idea. Had no idea.
There's a metallic. I mean, there is like that. You know, like that because there is iron.
That
comes out. So there is.
It'll
It's
be
just
a
like
different
it's
taste.
a different taste.
Yeah.
Which, if you're interested in,
Yeah,
try
if you
it.
like metal straws,
Andrew
go
stuck
down
his finger in my vagina.
Period.
Like he put his because like I got my period like a week ago, and we've been working on getting pregnant. And of course, my pregnancy app was wrong. Like it said that my cycle was they automatically some apps automatically put your cycle 28 days. My cycle is 31 days, and so I was 4 days off in my ovulation period on the calendar, and so we were having sex 4 days too late. And so I got my period, and I was like, oh, I thought because like last time I got pregnant like immediately, and so I was like, what's going on? So then he like sticks his hand in my vagina and sees the blood and just licks it in solidarity.
Oh my God.
In solidarity.
What a guy.
I was like, I love you so much.
That's like so hot.
Yeah, it's so hot.
I got my period on the other day and like smeared it all over myself. Anyway,
yes.
What were your first periods like? Do you remember your first period?
Zero recollection.
Oh no.
I very vividly remember my first period. I got my period when I was 12, and it was like the December 26th. Because I remember, because that was always the day we flew over from Portland to New York to visit my dad. And I grew up in a family that talked about periods super openly. And then suddenly I got my period, and all knowledge and education of what I knew it was and all the excitement I had to get my period went completely out the window, right? Because no one tells you like what it looks like, what it feels like, what it smells like how much blood it's going to be. You just know that it will come.
Yeah.
And so I straight up thought I was like bleeding from the inside out. Like it was very dramatic. And my mom was the one who like came in, calmed me down, and was like celebrating that I was a woman. But like beyond that, I think that it was like, I run into a lot of young girls who like tell me their first period stories, and it's the same thing. It's sort of like excitement, and then you get it, and it's like freaking out about it. Yeah.
I was on a bus by myself. I had just had ballet. I was 11. I had my ballet leotard and tights under my clothes. I went into the bathroom. I thought I shit my pants because that's what it looked like.
It's brown,
it was brown, and it was like
goopy,
viscous, like it was shit, but it was not shit.
Oh yeah.
And I'll never forget. And then I went out. I was in my parents' house, and my mom was helping me get my tampon in on the other side of the bathroom door, and I started hysterically crying, and I was like, I don't have a hole. It just doesn't exist. And she's like, I swear you have a hole. And now look at me. I just fold my Diva cup and pop it up there, and then pop it out. Easy peasy. Learning.
I started using a menstrual cup actually my second cycle.
No
because
way.
For me, I mean, growing up in Portland, you hear so much about the trash and like,
it
is a really big city.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's 4 girls in my house. So when my mom and I were on the same cycle, like we would fill up I would fill up like a whole trash can of
with
wrappers
pads.
right away, right? And so for me, like that was always really bothering to me. So
I always feel guilty disposing of like more garbage.
So I started using menstrual cup from a really, really young age. And I mean, I did pre-professional ballet, and I was on the boys varsity baseball team in high school. So like for me, it was like a lot.
We're all
like,
athletes.
Yeah, for me,
play.
Yeah,
I was a tennis player, and I fenced.
Very cool.
Of course you did. That's so cool.
I also we did figure skating, and I did ballet for a really long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's actually really funny. Periods, I remember
I love that we're all
dying to get mine.
Yeah, you were
Like,
dying to get yours.
So I actually have never used a pad in my life.
Yeah.
I've only used tampons because I was like very delayed, I guess, developmentally.
Yeah.
And
Flat so.
So flat. Yeah, I was very insecure about it. Didn't change in front of people like at all. And so I would be like, maybe this is my period. Try to stick a tampon up there. Be like, I'm not sure that was
what?
Be like, I thought I had it. I was like, well, maybe. I would horseback ride. I was like, maybe that will break it this time.
You got
like,
accustomed to tampons before you had a
I
period?
never used
That is so
a pad.
dangerous.
That's
So the first time I
hilarious.
got my period, I was like, I know how to do this shit.
Oh my god,
That's amazing. Test
You
runs.
guys, she's a researcher. She's a pro.
Wow.
Test runs.
Very interesting.
Pro.
Although she got it at 11, I was like, why isn't this happening to me? I am
Although
14.
I will tell you that toxic shock syndrome occurs when you're trying to shove in a tampon into your dry vagina, and it causes
and then it gets
micro
lacerations.
abrasions.
It's very dangerous.
And then
Yeah.
that the bacteria can go inside the walls, and that's how you get TSS.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I think I tried
you're
a couple
fine.
times. It was a stupid idea.
No, it's great.
It's fine.
Yeah. But it's awesome that you had these test runs. It's great. Yeah. A little lube next time.
Do you guys remember your first orgasms? Just because we
I
have
do.
to ask that on every episode.
I do.
Okay.
I do. I was like maybe like 10 or 11 years old, and I was cold. No, I was freezing cold in Montreal, in born and raised Montreal, Canada.
Okay.
And I was like laying on my stomach, and I just put my hands like in like underneath my body so I can warm up my arms, and then I accidentally put my like my knuckles like in my like just so that you can like like between my legs, just so I can really like be warm, and then I would just like wiggle around to get warm. And as I was wiggling around, I was like, wait, what's that? That feels nice. Oh my God, what is that? And so I would just do that a lot, like at night, until one day I finally like had like a little mini orgasm. I was like,
got a little warmer.
What is that feeling? And it was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. So and then from that point on, I've always been like multi-orgasmic, where I've been able to like pull the orgasm up and let it circulate. And you can do like circular breathing, where you can really just let it keep happening. And Andrew can really make that happen now. And it's just so like that. There's this woman named Barbara Corellis who does this tantric workshop. I would highly recommend you get her on your podcast. She's brilliant. But then also do her tantra, like she's just an online audio workshop that you can do with your partner. Yeah, and it's like it's so great because it's all about your breath. It's tantric breathing. Tantric. Yeah, and how you use your tantra to pull the orgasm from just your crotch all the way to the top of your head and then back down. So it's like a real circular.
Oh my gosh.
That's sick. I think we might do more assignments.
Wow.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Check it out. Barbara Carlos.
That's unreal. Nadia, do you remember your first orgasm?
Mine was like a few months ago.
Oh my gosh. Congratulations.
Yeah. I mean, because for me, I mean, like, I think from a very young age, you know, you see the like kindergarten girls who are always rubbing themselves on pillows and they have no idea what it is. Right. Like, I think I always knew that it was a tingly, funny feeling, but I think, I don't know, I just always had like a fear of it. Yeah. Like, I think, you know, like the feeling of feeling overwhelmed and then like it sort of was felt like a panic attack to me. Same. Like, so my doctor actually 2 years ago was like, you just are hyperventilating. Like, guys think you're orgasming, but you're really just hyperventilating. Because I think I would get there and just like lose my breath because I would be like, oh my God, I don't know. Like, it really felt like I was on this hill and I didn't know what was on the other side. Like, I think mentally, it was sort of equivalent to feeling like I was running up this hill and when it's going to jump off and it was just going to be this like terrifying cliff, right? And
like, in what way? Terrifying, like in what way?
Like, I think I genuinely thought that I like would explode. Like, it was just a feeling of like I'm going to explode. Like, something is bad. Like, I think I felt very scared of like, this is something bad that's gonna happen. And it wasn't until I was with someone I really trusted and like I think knew. Yeah, that's important. Yeah, like knew wouldn't hurt me. And I think because of my experience with men, I was always very like on guard. But also because I think growing up with abuse, I was always in sex was always thinking about like serving. Like, I got very used to like not being eaten up, always giving, and then also like I think
being able to receive fully.
Not like when it happened to me was like when someone would give to me, I would feel like needing to perform for it, like perform and make them feel like they were
like doing a good job.
That's very normal for so many women.
So many. It wasn't until like I really felt like this person really just wanted to give to me and like not to feel good about themselves. And so then it happened and it was like I remember it was this big life-changing thing. Oh my gosh, I think I almost started crying, if anything.
I did cry after.
No,
yours was with a boyfriend, your boyfriend,
yes, my current boyfriend, but I still haven't been able to do it myself.
Interesting. I mean, I think like a lot of the time we're like, oh yeah, you have to do it alone first. Like, it's great if somebody can do it for you first. That's amazing that he could make you feel so comfortable. Definitely. And that like, so how are you doing it now? Like, often?
Yeah.
You guys bang all the time? And just...
But I mean, I think for me, it's still like, I don't like do a lot to my, like, I don't, like, masturbation is not a part of
Make
my,
you burn the house down.
I almost did.
But no, I mean, like, obviously my, like, sex life and love life is amazing right now, but I think I still can't, like, when I travel a lot for speaking tours, so I'm always traveling, and when I'm traveling, I'm sort of like on these 2-week-long dry spells, because I don't think it, since I haven't been able to make myself orgasm, like, it's not something that I even think about doing. Like people are always like, do you crave it? Do you miss it? And I'm like, there's not really anything to miss. Like, I don't have that like wanting to do it. So it's, I think for me, like, I remember when I was in high school, like, I'd get really horny and then be like, I hate this, and then I would go for a run, and then like everything would feel fine. So it's I'm still on the whole learning journey of it. I
mean, you're also only 21.
You're gonna build an empire, and then you'll just have time to fuck and sleep and eat and do all that stuff. You guys, this has been awesome. Can you remind my listeners where they can find you, buy your books, buy your products, do all that stuff, contribute to your campaign? campaigns, etc.? Nadya.
So Period's website's just period.org, and my Instagram handle is the best place to reach me. It's just at Nadya Okamoto, which is NADYAOKAMOTO.
Perfect. Miki?
Well, you can definitely check out Tushy at hellotushy.com. And you can find my book at any Barnes & Noble, Amazon. It's called Disrupt Her, and Disrupt-Her. And check out disrupther.co if you want to see a video of me being birthed out of a vagina. You can go to disrupther.co. I just made a poem about the book, and but it's really about disrupting your life and how to really really see the hypocrisy of society to really break through and break free. But the opening shot is as I'm being birthed out of a vagina.
Oh my God.
So disrupther.co.
That's amazing.
Check that out. And then my stuff, mikiagrawal.com, if you want to put it in the show notes.
Yeah. We're going to put everything in show notes. I just have to ask this at the end of every podcast and after every sexual experience, which this has been. Miki, did you finish?
Oh, yes, we're good to go. Yes,
okay.
We're good to go.
Okay, amazing.
Yes,
Nadia, you were good to go? You finished?
Yes.
Okay, amazing. Thank you for coming, and we'll see you next time on How Come.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
It's not you, it's me. I try so hard to finish honestly. They say you'll know when you go all the way from A right down to O. Oh no, I think that I still got a ways to go. Oh, I'm sick of this and I have got to know. How come? How come? How come I can't achieve? How come I can't achieve? I'm rolling up my sleeves. I'm rolling up my sleeves. Oh baby, I believe these guests can help. 'Cause I can't do it by myself. I wanna jizz